All right, we're going to go ahead and begin. Welcome to the first design forum of fall 2025. Ooh, this is in preparation. Woo! I met these ladies, Ashley and Charlotte, last semester in the Business of Design course. I was mesmerized by their energy and passion. This dynamic duo started an experiential design agency based in New Orleans. They specialize in helping people tell their unique story through branding, design, activations, and atmospheres. Please help me welcome this super team, Studio Ganza.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks for having us.
So we're gonna do that thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that thing where we really would love to see the whites of your eyeballs if you want to get any closer. I know that's really uncomfortable and you're really comfortable up there, but it'd be really great to have you down here. And we want you to ask questions, interrupt us. Last time we saved him for the end.
Well, I think that's maybe not true. I think we should probably we're gonna run through our presentation, but we definitely want to answer any questions that y'all have. So we love to answer questions, so feel free to ask them.
We love to yap
at the designated time. But yeah, we are Ganza. I'm Charlotte. This is Ashley, and we'll get into it. Ash, do you want to take the first slide?
Yeah, so we're a creative studio crafting and growing bold brands. Our name comes from the word extravaganza, and so, we love doing spectacular things.
So we do kind of a lot of different things that we're actually very lucky to do, but everything is rooted in this idea of collaboration, and we always try to keep it very process and story-oriented based, and we're the go-to partner no matter the scale or the size of the project, or category for that matter.
We do a lot of stuff. It took us a while to get to this place of doing all of these things, but we really work with founders most of the time, and we partner with these people at the beginning of their stories. So we really love holistic projects where we get to start with the positioning and the concept and really setting the tone for the brand before we move into design, website, and
other
what
else? But we positioning we're going to get into today, actually, because we're going to talk through what that means. That's kind of when we're doing brand strategy, that's the first part of that process. So you'll see these different categories get hit on as we move through the presentation. But we also do a lot of content in terms of art direction, production styling, which means we're doing a lot of shoots. So the shoot could be for either an ad campaign or for a website or for any asset-based need. And then we also take care of a lot of experiential work. So that means we're either running an event, or we're doing a launch campaign, or we're activating a client in a specific way. And through all these things kind of feed each other, right? So each one can tie in. That's how we like to produce things. That's very holistic. But some people do one-offs. We don't know. It depends on the person. But who are we?
This is us as children. We have another team member. We're a very small studio. We work with freelancers whenever we need to, but it's really just us three. And Tova, who's not here today, is our project manager.
And you are?
And I am Ashley. And I'm the co-founder and creative director.
And I am the design director. And we'll get into later on just our roles and how they break out as a team. But I think okay.
We're going to go back.
So just to start with me, can y'all also hear me? I feel okay. I don't normally walk around with a microphone. So as a child, I loved art. I loved to draw. I took a lot of art classes all throughout, when I was tiny until high school. So when I went to college, I was I'm going to be a painter. Did not happen. I was I need to make money. So what am I going to do? And I went into communication design, which was the graphic design program at University of North Texas. From there, when I graduated, as I'm sure a lot of you will have a portfolio. Is that still a thing? It's still a thing. Okay, cool. So I had a portfolio, and we had a big portfolio presentation. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with the brand Fossil, but they offered me a job. And I didn't take it. It was a big deal. My parents were very pissed. They even bring it up to this day. But I was like, I don't really feel comfortable. This is also in Texas. Fossil's based in Texas. But I was like, I don't feel comfortable going in-house at that time. I would not get a lot of, you're not just really experiencing a lot. You're working with one brand, you're in-house. So I did a bunch of internships, and that led me to working at a magazine, D Magazine in Dallas. And that was my first foray into like doing digital. So at that time, this is like 2009. Is this 2009?
Magazines were still hot, baby.
They were. Print's still a thing. So I was like the digital designer for this magazine, and I had never done that before. I had never used Photoshop. I had never written code, but it was very much a small team, like very much I was on the ground learning, which I don't think I would have gotten that opportunity. And it was very fortuitous because obviously we all know the internet is very big, and design and digital design is very, a big thing. So that was really helpful for me, because then that propelled me. I was like, okay, I've been in Dallas for, at that point, 5 years or something. I was like, I need to break out. And so I pushed me to move to New York. And again, there I worked for a bunch of different digital startups doing UI UX, doing website design. And then I also did the first Neiman Marcus app on your iPhone. But I landed at Moroccan Oil for a couple years. And again, it was a really small team, and it allowed me to push their brand forward. So I got to participate in not only like the website, which was what I was doing, but also like their social, their emails. I completely redesigned their emails. I brought in, like, at that time, they weren't really doing any social assets for lifestyle, so I encouraged that. So that's been a theme, I think, for both of us, in that we really like to have our hands in a lot of things, and not only it helps us grow and learn, but we're like really scrappy. And I think that is something that we're very similar in. And sorry, I'm like, to bring this all back, to how I got here was New York, hard, it's a hustle, was burned out, came back to New Orleans, was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Who knows who I'm gonna be? So I freelanced for a while. I also was a barista, and that freelancing led me to working at Crew, as a website designer, and that's how I met Ashley. So that is the connection to this whole timeline.
I was a theater girly, and
She's
so that
super
was
comfortable up here.
super comfortable with this microphone right now. But I loved singing and dancing, and like I used to have this Barbie dream house, and I would like arrange my Barbie dream house to be like perfect, and then no one could touch it. And so my sister would be like, "Oh my God, let's play," and I'd be like, "It's perfect. The scene is set." And and I'd be like, "Mom, I'm bored." And then like a month later, I'd be like, "Okay, it's time to change the scene." So, the things that we do as children really inform who we are as people today. I got involved really young. I lied about my age and there was like a fashion week at the time. This is like when Solange Knowles was like in New Orleans, and like we had 2 fashion weeks going on at the same time. And like I was like, oh my God, I'm 16 and the world's opening up and New Orleans is gonna make it. And so I like lied about my age. It was like, what do you want your major? What's your major? And I was like, it's undecided. I'm gonna volunteer for a fashion week. And then I started like running their backstage coordinations, and this is when Instagram came out, so I started like doing all these social media things for designers at the time. Christopher John Rogers, if y'all are familiar with his work, like he was one of the people that was debuting at the time, and so we were all just like young and hustling and like trying to figure it out and doing whatever we wanted, because I was young and no one knew how to work Instagram, and so they were like, you can do a photo shoot, run our Instagram. So taking a lot of opportunity whenever you can, however you can, to just get involved and do the work that you want to do. And then I went to LSU. I didn't want to go to LSU, but it was love tops, and studied advertising and minored in graphic design. So it was always this kind of like communications focused, and the major, lots of brand storytelling, more about the strategy behind the campaigns that we were doing. And I was freelancing all throughout college, so I was like it was social media. So I was basically like running and making content for different brands in town. It was super close to New Orleans, so I would drive in and still work for Fashion Week. And I joined up with a friend, and we were doing, Joy the Baker. We started the bakehouse for her. When the Driftwood Hotel opened, RIP, I like did all the graphic design stuff for them and marketing, Paris Parker. And so that was like all throughout college, and I came home, and I was like, if I want to work in fashion in this city, the only place that I can work and have a salary is Crew to Optic. And I applied 7 times and I never got an offer. And then I was at an event, and this is what's so interesting, is because I applied so many times, but I was at an event where I was like working the door, and Kristen Diable was singing or something, and the president walks up and he's like, hey, like, what's your name, blah, blah, blah. I connect with the president, and then like 2 weeks later I had a job. So it's not what you know, it's who you know, as my dad would say. But that's where I met Charlotte. I started out doing their social, and then I worked my way up and like ran the marketing department. And so we were tag teaming that until 2020, where we started this company.
Yeah, here we are. So we started. Oh my gosh, not there. It was 2020, which we all know is the pandemic. So I'm trying to, like, you know when you tell your origin story and you're like, what happened? So we left Crew. We did that. And it was very happenstance. So I got a client from somebody else that I knew. It's very, like, in this town, a lot of connections. So I had a connection through somebody, and it was to redesign a plastic surgeon. And the scope kept growing and growing, and I was like, I don't know if it's just me handling this. I feel like I should bring somebody else on. So at that point, I was like, I think Ashley would be a good person to bring on to this, because they needed like more marketing help. And I was like, I think this would be a good, opportunity for both of us. So then it was like, they were like, okay, the client was like, okay, then you guys can pitch against other agencies in town. And we were like, yeah, for sure. Had never done that together before. Didn't have a company name. Didn't have a deck. Didn't even know really what to include.
Didn't have pricing.
We were like, okay, cool, for sure. So we like stayed up, we like pulled this all-nighter, and then we made this presentation, and we pitched against, who did we pitch against?
It was like Trumpet.
Somebody else. No, there was like Southern.
There was a corporate something. There was like a food one.
There was a food one.
Deep fried.
Yes. Yeah.
With respect,
Yeah. And we won. We won the job. And we were like...
I think it's because we were the cheapest, but
it doesn't matter. We won it, and it's ours. And so that was like our first foray into being able to like do this as a real thing. We were called Ace & Co. also.
LOL.
So that was, a bit of where we started. But as that jobs lead to jobs, right? So that job led to other jobs in the city. One was working with Orange Couch. I don't know if you want to... Talk about it. Orange Couch is also where I worked in the Miami as a barista.
So, connections. They needed some merch. They wanted a redesigned menu. And so that was really fun. This was like, okay, we don't have any like vendors in town. Like, where are we going to print this? Who's printing this? What are the relationships that we're beginning to make? Inkwell Press, doing the hats. Like, let's get our vendors together. But super big learning experience. We did content. We redesigned their website. First time working with a client. Yeah. Client relationships in that way. Managing those.
And just running. We were doing social.
Yeah, we were doing social. Yeah. So it was a lot. I mean, we screwed up a lot. We also succeeded a lot, and it was you just have to do it, And I don't know if we would look back at this work and be like, oh my God, we're obsessed. Look how good we were. But you have to start somewhere, And so we did a lot of small businesses at this time. Sunday Best was a ice cream shop in the Hotel Peter and Paul, and they obviously were closed because of the pandemic. And so we launched this whole the ice cream delivery service with them.
Not only did we launch it, but we were like pitching her. She was like, how can we pivot during the pandemic, and how can I like sell my ice cream? How can I make it as a business? And so we were like, okay, what if it's like this Pint Pal idea? Do you remember Pint? Become a pal.
Yeah, we did Pint Pals.
And so it was like this idea of being able to get it essentially to go, but you're able to mix up flavors. And we had there was like a different naming convention for each of the packs.
My roommate was a photographer. That's her sister and her niece. We just had it in our house. Like, you make it work. We're really scrappy. She, the budget was the budget, and we made it work with what we had.
We sure did. But that's, again, like, you can't get somewhere without doing those things. You cannot grow, you can't learn. You have to like literally do the thing to be better at it, and to like understand even like, our offerings have changed so much. How we, structure pricing, obviously, but even just like, we were like, social, let's do social. We don't do social anymore because it's just not something that we're interested in or frankly very good at, because there's y'all. So I can't access the things y'all can access. So it's just been very interesting over time. But where we are now, do you want to kick it off?
We're here. Oh my God, there's so much. Okay, so the Marlene is really exciting. This is a boutique hotel project in Houston, Texas. Lily Barfield is an influencer, and she's like an antiques influencer. She got really big in 2020, and I think this is what's like very cool about this industry now, is that she got so big that she was able to like catch the eye of a lot of investors, and so they purchased this really incredible property in Montrose in Houston, and she came to us, and this is like our first super holistic, like touch everything from the very beginning project that we're super stoked about. So how we start these projects
this is a different presentation, but yes, we're doing this.
How we start these projects, we talk about positioning in the beginning, and I think because both of us did comms in our degrees, strategy and working directly with clients on like what the brand is so important. It's not just like, here's my brand and I'm like, cool, I'll design something. It's like, here's my brand and I'm like, are you sure? So we work a lot with people on positioning and the strategy behind what their brand actually is. A lot of, it's not like someone's coming to you and they're like, oh my God, well, I'm starting a brand and my favorite color is hot pink. And we're like, that's fun, but like, what does your audience want? We start all the time with our brand discovery guide, which is like an internal document that always talks about the audience first. We always get into what they're looking for.
Yeah, and we also talk about like the verbal identity, like who are you, how do you speak, what words do you say, what words do you not say. We talk about their brand values. So it's like, what does the brand actually represent? What does the brand stand for? Typically we'll have like some sort of like manifesto statement, which is like this big, bold statement that's very like, high level, and Ash writes it, and it's always like very, grandiose. But it's like, what does the brand mean? And so this statement up here helps us really narrow down, and really whenever we do design, now we're checking everything we do against the strategy portion to make sure it aligns.
So everything that's underlined, and you can steal this, you're welcome. But everything that's underlined is a blank. And so we start this with every client where we're like, okay, for blank, who blanks, this brand is a blank. And that could say anything. That could say like for fun-loving travelers. That could say, for, I don't know, ad lib, someone come up with something. Who love martinis, like that's why they're coming to our hotel. You have to come up with what these things are for the brand. And so the Marlene, we had like neoclassical mansion, we had Southern Victorian inn as these options for her to choose from. And so the client typically will choose whatever resonates with them the most. But this is what we, again, like Charlotte said, put everything against. So for design-minded individuals who appreciate an intentionally curated space, that means also, after this brand's launched, this really like anchors everything. Where are they pitching the property to? Are they gonna go to Condé Nast Traveler, or are they gonna go to Architectural Digest? Like, that's what this sets the stage for. And so we're gonna show you the work, and hopefully you think that it resonates. But European values and Southern hospitality was her kind of core. And we always like to include the unlike statement. And all of our clients always bristle and get really upset about the unlike statement because they think they're being mean to their competitors. And we're like, you need the statement because we need to know what you're not. And when you hire a social media person or a copywriter or a press team, they need to see this so that they know what you're not trying to do and the story that you're not trying to tell.
Correct. Good job. So from this, we have a whole strategy, and then we take that strategy and we're like, okay, where are we going design-wise? Like, what are we gonna do? And we always start with a few different mood board options, and this allows us to align with the client. So visual design, so let's look at all the strategy, let's look at your preferences, and let's put a mood board together to see where we're actually gonna take it, and what we're actually going to try to not mimic is not the right word, but like what is the essence of what we're trying to capture, and like how does that look? Because this helps us not only like align with us, but it aligns with the client. Okay, we're going to, if you can see, there's like borders, right? There's like different frames that are being used. If you look over to the top, right, this is the one she loved.
She loved it.
She loved this. She loved it. So she likes this idea of there's a main mark that's a little like playful, but still very like feels very Victorian. She really loved the Merci Louis one as well. So this is helping us really capture the nuances of the design that we're trying to help us see the brand, help us see where we're trying to go.
Because they also, what's so fun with clients is they don't know until they see it, which is super cute. And so you have to show them so that they can go, oh my God, I hate that. And you can be like, great, I will not go in that direction. Because you can just, then you do the work and you're like, why did I do this work when I could have just shown you a picture and you could have told me that you hated it, you know?
Yeah. So we present these mood boards and we align on one. We're like, cool, this is the direction, this is where we're going. So we can't change our minds. So
you signed off on this.
That's a checkpoint. So now we're gonna go into what we produce. So this is the main word mark for the Marlene. As you can see, there's a frame, which she liked those frames. We took a serif, and there's a lot of things that we can talk about because this is obviously a lot of typography everything we do is custom, so this is all custom created, but we're starting with something. So it's why did we start with the serif, right? And that's because what she liked, she wanted something that harkened back to that time. She wanted something that had the thick to thin. She wanted something with the actual serif. So that's why we started with that sort of font. Sorry. Oh. I can get really into this.
What was so fun about this was that, we're okay, but it's modern, so we should include the as a sans serif, right? And then she sees it and she's like, oh, I really think that I want it to be a script. And we're like, okay, well, show you a script. That's not going to be the vibe. And we did, and she hated it, and she went with this. So, you also have to show them, again, they don't know until they see it. And we've built that into our pricing now.
Right. So this, like I said, is the primary word mark, but then we get into, I forgot, I put the space in here. I was like, that could probably be helpful for them. So this is actually what it looks like. So it's gorgeous. It has each bedroom is different. There's 9, like we said, 9 bedrooms. There's a bar.
The bar is called the Bar Madonna.
Yeah.
So we got to brand that too, which was fun.
But the space is very beautiful and it's very eclectic. So that was something else that we were trying to keep in mind when we created this brand system, because we did a lot of different things. So we made this main M mark. So this is based on a letter from a Victorian alphabet that we changed, and we made it to where she can use it in a lot of different ways. Because we'll talk about later, it's always better to provide more than less, right? So you're okay, well, let's think about the client. She could just take this M and plop it on a lot of things, but would it be more powerful and would it resonate more if she could have different options? So it's okay, what goes on the postcard? What goes on the keychain? What goes on the bag? What goes on a label? Just to give them versatility. And also, then you're getting all those assets to use for other clients. So it's yes, we're doing more work, but then it pays off for us, tenfold, because then we can see. You can show that to somebody else and win them over.
And you can upsell them.
Which is Ashley's MO.
My favorite thing to do. So like Charlotte said, we didn't need to give her all this other stuff.
We sure didn't.
But we got really excited.
We did.
And when you get excited, let yourself be excited and just do it, because it'll be worth it for everyone involved. But still following along the lines of these borders, still following along the lines of this Victorian yet modern kind of scenario. And we were able to do a lot of collateral for her. So, not only business cards, but the keychain, signage, the hotel key card, all those.
We created a pattern that she's going to use. She can use it on the website. We used it on the back of something. So, just that's another thing to think about is what's the surprising moment, and to make it so you're oh, one side's one thing, we flip it over, it's something else. How can we really continue that storytelling in that way? We also they didn't end up looking like this, but we did door hangers, which were very cute. They were named after the rooms. The rooms are all named after different women in her lives. So adorable.
They're Marlene. It's her grandmother's name. So
yeah, very sweet.
Very sweet. So we did all this stuff. And then Barb and Donna, we branded. It's a little bit more funky. She has like a gorgeous, huge Virgin Mary holding Jesus cutout from France.
It sounds
that's
crazy,
like
but
the
I promise
anchor of the bar. It's amazing. And so, yeah, very like gilded, very gold, like very, fabulous. And it's like very tiny. And she has all these like hand-painted gold stars on the ceiling. Mm-hmm. So we leaned in.
And the other thing that was interesting about this is that we presented 2 design versions of like the logo in like 2 different directions as part of our process. And that M, which we created, was originally like a version of Marlene. And so she liked it so much, she was like, oh my God, that's Bar Madonna. And we were like, great. Because we've already done that work. Like, let's leverage the work. So that was like a fun aside. But I know you want to take this one. So, no. So then Cassie Porsche.
Oh, yeah, this is fun. So the other thing is, too, when people trust you, which you want to gain their trust, this girl, Cassie, kind of knew us around town. We like had a meeting. She wanted us to do her branding. She was called Thistle and Co., and she was a wedding photographer. And so we have this meeting with her, and she needs to rebrand, and we're like she keeps talking to us about what she does at a wedding. We're going through our brand discovery. She's telling us about her audience and stuff, and I'm like, you're like on the dance floor taking shots with your couples, and you're called Thistle and Co. Like,
it was all like
the
soft
vibe,
colors.
yeah.
It was like a
neutral.
Yeah, like a light pink.
The vibe was not vibing. So we were like, Cassie, like your last name is Porsche. Like your last name is cool. Like you should just be Cassie Porsche. And she was like, oh my God, I don't know. And like, she's freaking out. And she took it to all these people. We had like 2 pep talks, and then she finally was like, you know what? You're right. I'm Cassie Porsche. And so we were like, yes. And so her manifesto was like super powerful, and like her the positioning statement, like she's like shooting lesbians at the Virgin Hotel, like in the bathroom, like it's like hot, And so we were like, okay, you're for nonconformists who like want something different, and this is like also vague, which I think is interesting. Like we could have gotten more specific with this, but we wanted to keep it vague. She wanted to be a little bit luxurious and have a higher paying customer. So we're like, you have a high-end approach that breaks convention. And then traditional was what she was not, and overly romantic is what she was not. So like people that are like, oh my God, this is the biggest day of my life, was like not her vibe. Like she was like, this is just another day, and you're just trying to have a great time, and it's your wedding. That's her perfect couple,
Yeah, she was like not precious, like at all.
At all.
At all. But again, this is the mood board which is interesting about this one specifically, and I was like looking back, I was like, weird. But I think what's interesting is that she a couple things. One thing is like she liked this whole like sans serif moment in like a bold way. So that was like something that we were like, okay. But then she really liked this bottom one. And so you're going to see why we got to where we got because of this. Is that right? Ashley, am I recalling this correctly? Yeah, so I was like, I'm pretty sure.
She liked like stretched letters. Like,
yeah.
She liked something being off. And this is before that became very popular. Yeah. We've seen it now, but
You're right. At the time, it was a bit new. So this, I'm like, how did I structure? Yes. So this is part of her, every client also gets like a brand guide, a brand deck, depending on kind of like the level or the package that they're at. And this is like for what I was talking about earlier, like, or what Ash was talking about earlier, like her audience. So her audience is like these rebellious couples who want to go with the flow and have an effortless fun time, or like these brands that are like daring, editorial, bold. And then I don't know if you can see, but these are all her brand values that she had.
We always write values because I'm a copywriter. So we write values because they really help, again, with the design direction. So her values are chill out, don't sweat the small stuff, let go, we're making art together, have fun. What's the point if we're not having fun? I'm only reading the first sentence. Reject convention, we believe different is good, be yourself, show up authentically, and I'll do the same. Like, this is all the stuff that we're pitting the design against to ensure that everything that we're doing feels that way,
It also increases, if you're doing a brand without any sort of background, it's very shallow. There's not really a lot there. So this like increases the richness of that experience and makes sure that it really is like this holistic, full, comprehensive thing versus like this very one-off, there's not really a lot of places to take it. So that's another reason why we do this whole strategy portion. And there's more of it as we go on. I think this would be interesting to show.
There's just so much copywriting, and I'm sorry, but it really is helpful.
Yes. I think that we are not is going to be.
We always do this, and people get like clients get really into it, and they get like almost like offended or excited about the words that you pick because words are visceral. But you know, like we're real, personable, easygoing, sarcastic. We're not sentimental, cheesy, condescending, technical. And I think it also, like, what's cool, and I think also what makes people, like, fall in love with you as this, like, partner to them is you, like, really see them when you're doing this, and you're, like, crafting their world together. And with Cassie, of course, this is, like, her personal brand almost. So it's, like, you really know each other by the end of this. It's a beautiful bond.
It is.
It's a beautiful bond.
So this was her final logo that we had animated. Not by me, but that you're kind of seeing all those things encapsulated, right? She liked the longer, the more expansive letters. She liked the juxtaposition of like a thick versus thin. She liked a very sharp type. She wanted it to feel very like sophisticated and almost like fashion. So that's kind of what you're getting in this moment. What else do we have here? She has a mark. She also has a really fun color palette.
Super fun.
And there's also like a million colors in it, which was like,
that
wow.
Was rough.
It was rough. But it was fun because it's like there was a lot of like mix and match that could be used. So it was for a lot of different applications.
Yeah, and her logo, like you can use it stacked, you can use it horizontally, like all of the different ways that it shifts from the animation, like we have a version of it in each kind of shift form.
Yeah,
so
layout. Yeah, placement.
Thank you.
Yeah. For her, where the colors come in, that was really fun, was for her site. So each page was a different color. So it was very much like, it was just this fun, unexpected sort of experience that really made her site more playful and was really like, would play off of the photography in a great way. I think their site might be on here. Is it not going to play? Oh no. Hold on.
It's a video.
I swapped it to a video. I should have kept the GIF.
It's okay.
Dang.
You'll just have to go to our website.
I'm sorry, y'all. I thought I had it. Good learning. Okay, LMF. LMF is a foundation here in New Orleans. They're based in the Quarter, and they're supporting the different museums of of Louisiana. So they are trying to, they came to us because they were trying to capture like a younger audience, and they wanted us to understand what the significance of like Louisiana art is, and to keep it like alive.
Nobody knew. No one knows what this is. So we were like, no one knows what this is. We have to explain it to them. It's basically the foundation that funds all of the Louisiana museums that exist, which there are a lot of them, and they're important. And so we were like, okay, cool. But who's really going to go to this? And that's going to be a museum lover. People that love to go to a museum are going to be interested in this brand. They want to learn more about the rich history of Louisiana, and we wanted to get really tight on who and what they offered. So they support, administer funding, and raise awareness of the overlooked and underfunded state-owned and operated Louisiana State Museum system. Mm-hmm. So something that was like really amalgamated and no one understood, and like it was really hard to understand who they were and what they did. We really we distilled, as simplistically as possible,
right,
who they were.
So with the mood board and like the direction chosen, they wanted to kind of convey this like more traditional. It is a foundation, so it has to like look like a foundation. It has to have that authority and that professionalism. But then they wanted like that little pop of youth. They wanted to feel like, okay, we can have access to a younger, not consumer necessarily, but like a younger person would not be like turned off because it feels too rigid. So it was kind of, the Radiohead Public Library was like a good example of that. But also like just the color palette in general to convey like this youthfulness.
And that's the logo.
Great.
So we did the logo, but what we wanted to do was like really provide them with a lot of different like aspects of it. So different ways that it can be displayed. So you can see it kind of like in its classic format here, but we stacked it and connected it in a really unexpected way, and in a way that we could use it not only like as a lockup, but also as like a background for things, which you'll see moving forward.
And we also created this fun mark that we did in a couple different layouts. So you'll see it's more vertical and then more horizontal. So there's like the interconnectedness of those letters that can be used, because it's such also like a long name, like Louisiana Museum Foundation. It would not fit on a poster. You would not be able to read it. So having a different way to have that, like that, extend that brand system and the brand identity so they could be used on various applications in still a cohesive manner was very important. And then you're seeing here how we still use this like on their website in different ways, but like how we're using the pattern as like a background, and that also can be carried through. I feel like it was next, yeah. Like if you notice the poster, like it can be used as like a layering element for different applications, whether it's a tote bag or a poster, and hopefully there's a site on here and the site loads, but and
we did social templates because they needed a way to communicate what they were doing to their audience and do it in a way that was very clear and concise and fun. We have a neon green in the color palette. So yeah, we really when we work with people, we want to set them up for success, you know, not just in regards to like what they're getting from a brand perspective, but also with any assets they're going to use for their marketing.
Yeah, and to go back, it's not going to play. Y'all, I'm so bummed. I literally had a GIF in here. I literally had a GIF and I put a video because I thought it was going to work. I wonder if I have to just get on the Wi-Fi. Would that solve it? Anyone?
That's going to be whole thing.
Okay. Well, I'm so sad. But to go back to like just to touch on the youthfulness of it, that was really the reason why we landed on this color palette and on using like this sans serif as supporting elements, so that it kind of brought it down. Like you have this really bold, very traditional looking word mark, but then you're pairing it with these other elements that are making it more approachable for a younger person or just different demographics in general. I'm so bummed about that. Okay. Here Today Hospitality.
So Here Today Hospitality, we've met in 2020, and we started a relationship with the brand in 2021. So this is the company that worked with Ana Castro, who has Akamaya these days, on opening Lengua Madre. And Ana saw me speak at something about marketing, and she was like, I like you. We were like, I like you. And then she was like, do my brand. And we have been able to keep this relationship with this group for many years. And the reason that's important is because they keep coming back to you and giving you work, and you love it. So preserving and really investing in the client relationships is essential. Sending gifts on birthdays, you know, doing the Christmas drop-off, giving them access to merch that you release, like sending them notes and calling them every once in a while is like really important.
Also for us, we're a hospitality group, you're like patroning their places. So we would like go to a lot of these to our own demise and our bank accounts, honestly. But we showed up, so I think that's a lot. I think that is how we've able to get into some of these businesses, is because we would go there and we would be like, I know your clientele, I know what you're about. Like there's a familiarity there that you can only get by actually being present in the building.
Yeah,
so I think
and you go there, you become a regular, you know their staff, and then you know you end up meeting the owner or something. And so yeah, that's how a lot of things happen in this town. But we did a lot of stuff for them that we're going to show you.
Okay, Lengua. You want to take it?
So Lengua, Lengua opened and didn't last. She, you know, won a lot of awards, and then she went out and did her own restaurant, which is amazing. But we were really happy to do this. This was like our first actual like huge restaurant that we did, and feel really honored and like very blessed to be able to have done this with Ana. And so the work itself, like she has this mark, which I don't know if you can see, but it's on our website. Wow. But it's I remember we were like, oh my God, we have to do this right. We were like in Charlotte's apartment and we were like, oh my God. And we wanted to do something with the L and the M to be a mark. And we were just like drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing. And finally we did like 3 curved lines as the M and then a little L as the nose, because lingua madre is mother tongue. And so it became this kind of like maternal figure with like a nose and lines that were hair. It was pretty cool. I'm really proud of that one. But yeah, we were really lucky. We did this whole like shape system based in the same sort of like watercolor that represented all of the different like ingredients that they used. And we used those shapes throughout the different elements, like the menu and all the it was a tasting menu. So you got like something when you sat down, and then you got a dessert menu that was separate when it was done.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Right. You're right. Yeah. It's also like that's like kind of the core of Anna. She was bringing everything down. It was very like the menu was so specific. Focus. It was very focused on, her family's from Mexico. She's, so that was like, she was bringing all that into this. And that's why it was like, okay, we created this sort of like this language around that. And that's what made it different. And it's really also like the food is a star, right? So you're not really overpowering that. So you're like having to supplement and support that presentation of the food. But Coquette has been around for is it up there? 15 years, which I should know because we did the anniversary. But so it's been around for a long time. It's on the corner of Mag and Washington. And Mike is a great chef, and he's kind of created this very specific and very like beautiful restaurant. If you want to branch off of that, or you want to, okay.
It's delicious.
It's just delicious.
He does like really fun things called No Menu Tuesdays, which like everyone in the kitchen, from a chef's perspective, just like kind of they come up with themes and then they like make whatever for that theme, and it's a tasting menu. So we created a lot of different things for their 15-year anniversary, but we redesigned their logo, which like their logos in the beginning, the font was Coquette. That's why they chose it, because the name was Coquette. So we redesigned the logo.
So we actually didn't. I mean, we redid it, but it was like we still had to keep the spirit of that logo. So
because they weren't going to change their sign.
They weren't going to change the sign. So it was almost like that's almost its own design challenge. Is how do you improve upon something, but then also kind of have it be really reminiscent and harken back to this other word mark. Yep. And then with this new direction, because we kind of like really took it over, Mike was like, he's very flexible with us because we have a relationship. So he wasn't necessarily like, do this. We were like, what if you did this? Because he was like, I kind of want to go into a more brasserie vaguely direction. So we were like, okay, cool. That's really interesting. Like, how can we work from this? So we were like, what if we did illustrations? We pitched this and we were like, hey, we could do this whole illustration system. And we could use like the dessert and raw bar and the wine list up there. Like, that's my handwriting. So how do we like use things to make it feel very like almost like undone, but still very
put together.
Undone but put together.
You're like solving problems all the time too. So, when you're thinking about design challenges, we're like, okay, we're going to give you a bunch of social assets, and we have a bunch of illustrations that are hand done. But we can't just use illustrations for everything. We want, the dessert is handwritten, right? So there's a word element. So how can we ensure that words can be on your social graphics without us having to like write them every single time you need something? And the way that we thought about that was with the dates, because like you can write numbers 1 through 30, and you can write every month of the year, and then you have all those assets that you can use and place wherever you need. So that was a solution that worked really well for the No Menu Tuesdays, because all the dates would change all the time. And then we do all of that like in Canva, because we tried a lot to give restaurants InDesign files.
It don't work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
But we try. So I think that's a great point. Just how do you incorporate these elements, but then how do you make sure like they can then use them, right? So to Ashley's point about using like where dessert is written or raw bar is written, if we were to write out like the different specials, that would not be smart, because then the specials change, they cannot use them again, or they have to come back to us. So it's like, how do you set up the client for success.
And we learned that the hard way.
Yeah, you learn everything by doing it wrong. So that's how you learn. Wild South was the restaurant that replaced Lingua in the same space. Mike, again, the chef from Coquette, he wanted to do very like South Louisiana. So he's taking all those traditions, and again, it was like a tasting, but it was just like a completely different type of tasting menu than Lingua Madre.
And the reason we're showing you all these is because it's like the same group, but really, really different concepts the whole time. And I think if you left it to the client, this client in particular, who, you know, like everything had its own identity, but like really probably wouldn't have pushed us in that way. Like we really had to push the client on, this needs to feel like a different place. This is a totally different concept. So how do we make it look that way, you know?
Yeah. And so as you can see, like this, and to my eye, feels like a bit more masculine. It feels a bit more earthy. Like we used a lot of this, like the browns and these like neutrals, but then this like dark blue. We did a lot of different variations for the word mark. So there's the Wild South and like the cursive. It's in it's like in this. Okay, I'm losing my word, y'all. It's a
curve.
It's a curve. What is that? It's a curve.
It's in a curve.
We did this mark, which was the WS. That was then embossed on the top of the menu. Then we did like a different W. So we played around with a lot of different elements that could be use a lot of different ways, so that, like we were talking about earlier, it just makes it like a more delightful experience for the consumer that we found. Also,
we do art direction a lot of the time as well. So like if we're dictating the photography or whatever, something that was fun with this was we were like, what if you used, you know, black and white was like a big part of what you incorporate into your photography, as well as, what is this, like duotone or is it risograph? What am I saying? This blue.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, it's like duotone. Yeah.
Duotone. So we were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if it was duotone? And that's kind of giving you, again, this like kind of more masculine street, like from...
It's like gritty. It's
gritty
like raw
vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then to cap it off.
Oh my God.
I know. Here today. So it's, again, this is like literally the third iteration of this space. So it was Lingua Madre, then it was Wild South. Now, if anybody cares, loves chicken, it's Here Today Rotisserie, and they are making, you know, it's rotisserie chicken, but they're doing it different ways. It's primarily to go. It's delicious. I don't know if anybody needs a lunch option.
It's amazing.
But then for this was a challenge specifically because Mike was like, I'm doing chicken, and we were like, what? And he's like, I was like, we just did this restaurant. He's like, no, I'm going to do rotisserie chicken now. We were like, okay. He's like, I'm going to call it Here Today Rotisserie. And we were like, okay. And so he's like, brand it. And we were like, okay. So I was like, what do we do with that? Like, where do you take this? This was completely, there was no direction. There was no guidance.
But we're 5 years in, so he trusts us.
So we're like, okay, like, fuck it, okay. So
this is what we did.
So we took all these, we were like, let's make a bunch of badges. Let's make it really fun. He can use it for stickers for the different,
it's all to go. So there's a lot of packaging. So there's like, all the sauces have their own packaging. The chicken has their own packaging.
Right.
We put it in a bag. There's a lot of things.
So we're like, if you can use all these different things in different ways, let's like make it really playful. Let's make it very like, it feels fast foody, even though it's not, you know? So we were trying to play off that. It was also, you know, you're like, okay, we have a day to do this. Like, what are we going to do? And I think it turned out pretty fun. I think it was pretty fun.
We did a good job.
Also, I think with like the arrows, we're like, okay, we're going to use sort of signage in that way. How can we take that to make it feel more urgent? Like you have to get it now, and it can harken back to Here Today. So these were things we thought about.
Hot to go.
Hot to go. Got to get it. Okay.
So that's our work, and we're going to bring it back to us. There's more work on heyganza.com, but okay, so we're 5 years old. Everybody says it's like if you make it to 5 years as a business, like you're fine. So hopefully we're fine. But again, we have 3 people on our team. It's a really small team. We've worked with a lot of freelancers, but we've really chosen to keep the team really small. That's really intentional. I think some people I think it allows us to take on these kind of like more boutique clientele. It allows us to give a lot of care with the founders that we work with. It allows us to like kind of really preserve these relationships instead of trying to like go, and I'm not saying this is bad, but like, you know, like have to go find some sort of like super corporate like doctor's office situation, which, you know, would be super fun. But we love our little hospitality and like boutique hotels.
Yes, we do. Also, even though we are small, it is really, we have discovered over the course of this that we're like, okay, there actually has to be some differentiation and some structure, which is like kind of like, how do you keep it loose and fun, but then how do you also actually maintain some processes? And so that's been like a learning for us, but we've had to really like hone in on what our actual lane is. So for me personally, sorry, a lot of talking. I'm doing design. So I'm doing the branding, I'm doing the typography, I'm taking the color, I'm integrating the color, I'm doing all the mocks, I'm doing like the website designs that we do, and I'm also doing the production for those things. Like Tova, who's our project manager, she and I share that role, but I'm like prepping all the files to go out. So if there's a problem, it comes back to me and I have to fix it, and then it means I did it wrong. So that's a fun thing to have to like figure out.
Guess who's the perfectionist in the group?
Me all day. But then I do our finances and our budgeting for different projects. So anytime we're like scoping out a job, I'm the one that's like, okay, this is what I think it should cost based on XYZ. And that is what I do. What do you do, girl?
So I do a lot of leads and sales. So like clients talk to me, make like out in the town, making relationships, keeping relationships, making proposals. I do a lot of the initial creative direction. So all of that kind of like strategy stuff and like the mood boarding and like really kind of figuring out where the brand is going to go. Our direction and color palette as well. And then I do a lot of our copywriting and social stuff. And for clients as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Tova, who's not here, but who is our, like, honestly, our savior, she's doing project management. So before that, Ash was kind of like doing that role and the role she is doing now. And you really need somebody like very much in that role that can really commit to it and follow up with clients, deal with all the timelines. Timelines change all the time. For sourcing for anything. So we work with like a lot of vendors. So who's talking to the vendors? Who's like following up with the vendors? Any admin, any finance. She's the one who's sending out invoices. She's, again, following up with people if they don't pay their invoices. And then she's also just like doing miscellaneous support. So we're on Slack all the time. We're talking about a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of comms around, okay, did you see this? Do you approve this? What do you think about this? And so she'll be like, hey, where are y'all on round one? Hey, you know. So she's constantly like, she just keeps everything like going and flowing.
Command control officer. And it's like this admin, and this was interesting, it's like size of the brain, right? Like it's like an admin person who's really good at like tracking Excel sheets and like following up with people and like understanding where, like, when's the last time someone emailed you and like following up and keeping all that together is like, is that always the most creative person ever? You know, like, and so,
or is that the gal about town?
So it's kind of like, you know, that was a huge thing for us where I was like, I suck at
You
this.
didn't suck.
It wasn't my favorite thing in the world either. So it was like, okay, if we have the capacity to move some things around to where I'm doing things that are in my lane and you're doing things that are in your lane, let's find that right individual who's going to be a really great mesh with the team and who's going to be able to like fulfill this role that we need and like smash it, which she does every day.
Yeah, 100%. So now we're at the end portion of this and we're talking about our lessons. So I think, can you take this one? Because I'm like, I think I know where to go.
Yeah, so
it is unknown. Yeah, go.
Well, I think like, you know, I think some people are like, I'm going to start a business. And we were like, it's the pandemic. And we just pitched somebody and then we had a business. So a lot of this was unknown territory. I was really familiar with entrepreneurship, like I said, since, you know, college and before that. So it really didn't scare me. I was used to like working with one-on-one with people. I was used to people not receiving things very well and having to like coach them through the situation. And I think that was something that you weren't as familiar with just from the beginning of time.
I'm not crazy about it. But I think that another thing is that a lot of what we do now is unknown. So if you're getting a bigger job, there are parts of the job that we don't know how to do or we've never done before. And so you just kind of have to like keep going because that is, I don't think there's ever going to be a point where I'm like, okay, I've learned all I need to know, and then I can just like execute perfectly. And that is a hard lesson to continue to learn. But even like with Photoshop, or there's so many programs out there that I have to always, we have to learn all the times, and it's always an unknown. So that is just like a part of the gig.
Yeah, just say yes. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I think that's it. You'll figure it out.
You're going to figure it out.
You're going to figure it out. Punch above your weight. We try to do things.
Yeah, I think it's like no one's going to give it to you. So you got to go take it. And I think like whenever we first pitched and we were like at this fake company, we didn't even have an LLC. It was like, we were like, yeah, we can compete with Trumpet, LOL. It's like us two girlies. And we did, and it was fine. And so it's kind of just like punch above your weight. Like you are capable of more than you know you are, and you won't know what you're capable of until you do the thing. So go for it. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. We're not doing brain surgery, which is kind of amazing,
We're not, thankfully. Do the work, which ties into what I was talking about earlier, that you just have to. There's two things. There's probably a lot more I can say about this, but a couple of those things is that you only can get better by doing. So the only way that you can improve, you can refine, you have to it's almost like you're training your own eye and your sensibilities, and that can happen through like this iterative process. So that is just like a huge part of this I think this journey and this what we're doing. And then also I think by providing more than the client signed up for, and by trying harder, or like even presenting more options, is always going to be welcomed.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Do you want a second?
Oh, it's really frustrating. I mean, it's really like it's like, what is the Iris Glass? Who said this? Where they were like, if you have good taste, like, that you suck. Sometimes. And it's like, sometimes you try to do something and you're like, oh my God, it's not what I see in my brain, and the only way to get better at that is to just keep doing the work.
I think to riff off that, it's like, you'll see something or in the world and you're like, why can't I get to that? And that's kind of the thing. You just have to kind of keep going and trying. The next one is fearlessly fail. So this kind of ties, my favorite. This ties into what we were talking about earlier, in that you will make mistakes. That's just a part of this. We will make mistakes. We just made a mistake we're having to pay for right now. So it's kind of releasing any judgment or shame from that. Like, it's a good thing. That is how you learn. That is how you grow. And you don't know what you don't know. So like, I can give you all an example from Biome Cold. So we produced this whole thing. It took forever. We produced like this packaging system for this client. It's a box, and there's things in the box and whatever. There was a sleeve for the box. The sleeve is like this really cool embossed silver, like very cool sleeve. It doesn't fit. It's the wrong size.
It's too small.
It's too small. Whose fault is it? Is it my fault? Is it the vendor's fault? It's my fault at the end of the day. So, it's like, okay, now we know that we have to have a physical box. It's a prototype. I was doing it based on measurements, and it was from the inside of the box, not the outside of the box.
Which you don't know until you do it.
It's
nobody's fault. It just happened. And so then you gotta you learn, and then we take it differently. You know what I mean? But figuring out how to noting what happened and being like, okay, we know what to check for next time, but we're gonna pivot. And how do we solve this problem? It's much better for your energy to just try to solve the problem and move on than it is to just stew and stew and stew in what you did wrong.
Yeah, and for the record, that's the measurements were what the client or the vendor told us. It wasn't like I measured.
Exactly.
It wasn't like I measured it wrong.
They were like, by industry standard, and I was like, what industry standard, ma'am?
And then finally, it's enjoy wearing a lot of hats, which we touched on in our experience that we like to do. So we like to be able to be like, okay, we're working this event. Now we're working on branding. Now we're doing this, but we're also learning how, I don't know, we're learning a new accounting software, or we're learning a new way to, use Slack or something. So it's a lot of being nimble and pivoting. And we personally like that.
Well, if you want to be an entrepreneur, this is just what you have to do. So, if that's what you want, that's what you're signing up for.
And I think we reached the end. Thank you.
Scan this QR code for your attendance. Do you have any questions?
I think we have. I don't know if we have time. Yeah, we do. Okay. Because it goes to 6:10. Okay. Okay.
Oh my God, I'm gonna give you the mic. Fun. Okay.
It's very Oprah of you.
Okay. I don't know if you guys have ever come across this, but have you ever rejected a client because you don't align with their values or like just don't like what they're offering you, and how do you go about it?
That's a really great question.
When is the rent due? That's a great question.
That's a really great question. I think it's hard. I'm not going to say it's not hard. It's hard because it's like, I think it's about your mindset and what you're trying to get out of it. Like if you're like, okay, this client is going to be terrible. I know that they're going to be terrible. I'm expecting them to be terrible. I'm going to take their money and I'm going to be like, if they're horrible, you're like, well, we knew that was going to happen. It's not going to, I'm not saying that that's like a fun job to have, but you also don't have to take the job. So we have said before, like we've either priced them out where we're like, we know we can't, they're not going to be able to afford it.
It's out of their budget. That's how we do it, to keep it nice.
Yeah. Or we've given them, I don't know if we've ever been like, we don't have time.
We've never said that it's not a good fit, which I think is brave, and I think that's noble and wonderful, and that is totally valid, and you can tell people that. But we've either been like, well, if they want us to do it, then they're gonna have to pay this much money, and then sometimes they do, and we're like, well, we can take that money. We have Tova, so she can deal with the client. We put parameters in place that I think we feel comfortable with if we take on a client that we really don't want,
It's like that is a tough thing to have to navigate for sure. I don't know if that was helpful. Okay. Does anybody else have a question?
When collaborating with each other and clients, how do you go about dealing with like disagreements or problems when like working with other people?
Oh my God, y'all are coming with like the hard question. Okay. So we can talk about that are you talking about like from an internal level or external, like internally? Okay. That was something that we've dealt with. And we're really collaborative. I think there have been times when like somebody has felt stronger about something than the other person.
Yeah, and that's what the roles are for too. So like if you are telling me something about design, like I'm kind of like, okay, well, she wins. And then if I'm saying something about something else, like, then that's kind of, we each respect each other and we respect each other's opinions about the thing. And it's been really helpful having a third person in the business because Tova also didn't work in this industry. So she like came from schools. Like she like ran a summer camp and like was super admin.
Yeah.
And so she like doesn't know anything about anything, and she can be like, well, she knows a lot of stuff, but she doesn't know anything about design. So like if we are like, oh, she's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
like
she has
no
just
one's
a
gonna know what you
completely
mean.
different perspective that is honestly good because it's the client's perspective, right? So it's really good to have her to riff off of. And I think also, just to go back, like I think when because we do critique with each other, and sometimes it's like, it feels more personal because it's like if the person has spent a lot of time on it, a lot of energy, that person doesn't always want to hear a critique. But at the end of the day, mostly, like if I've worked on something forever and then Ashley's like, it's not working, I'm not happy about it. I'm like, okay, but Ashley's right though. So I think it's like kind of swallowing your pride in that way.
Yeah, you really got to kill the ego, you know, and everyone has to like take that and not take it personally. It's like you're doing a job.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else?
Oh my God, it's so Oprah going up these steps. Oh my God, okay.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Hi, I'm Kat. So we as seniors are trying to brand ourselves for future clients, sort of trying to get our name out there. How did you as a business come up with your own branding?
Fun. Okay. It took a long time.
We did a different name. We had like 2 different names. This was the whole thing.
It took longer than it should have, to be honest. And it was really hard. It was really hard to get here. We were going to be called Bodega at one point. We had that other ace.
We wanted to work out of a corner store and like have a corner store, which may still happen one day if anyone knows any investors.
Yeah, if there's any money in the room. But it got to a point where we were like, okay, we can't we can't do that. So what are we going to do? And we had this huge brainstorm, and we were at my house, and we like put up a white piece of paper, and we just like wrote all these different names down, and we just like went to town. And I remember Uvi. We were taking words and we were breaking apart words, and I groovy, and I was like, Uvi could be fun. And it was like, is that olive oil? We don't know. So from that experience, we were like, oh, Ganza feels very like something, and it's like something we have not heard before. So we're like, okay, that feels strong for us to stand by, and also like the definition of that word and how it came to be.
And it started, like, we did our own process on ourselves. So like, what are the words? What do we stand for? And, you know, it's like if we're bold and we're for daring brands and we're, you know, all these things, it's like, and we want the work to show for itself, like that influenced the black and white choice, that influenced the like kind of pop of neon choice, that influenced like, we can do a lot of different things, we wear a lot of different hats, like we're gonna have a million different exclamation points. So we're an exclamation point brand. We use those, you know, we don't just use periods. And like, do we curse? Do we not curse? Like, these are the things that inform the design choices.
Yes.
Did that answer your question?
It's like sometimes we can get off on a tangent. Any more questions? Any more? Oh.
Thank you. Hi. With having long-standing clients like that hospitality group, how do you constantly stay with like fresh creative ideas with having the same kind of hospitality group and brand almost?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we really go back to like that specific, so the hospitality group, they had very different outlets, right? So we had to put our heads around like what the branding portion, who is this clientele? What is this audience? What does this actually look like? And what am I trying to say? I feel like I'm going in a weird direction here.
I think like it's your taste, right? So like,
Yeah.
You like what are you consuming all the time? And I think we intentionally don't just do hospitality, like we love it, of course, but we're really industry agnostic, if you will, because we want other industries to inform the work that we do. So if we're diving into a plastic surgeon client, that might, in an interesting way, inform, you know, a hotel that we do. It's something that we took, like we did this really sick, the first client that we ever did, they wanted to rewrite their website. And I was like, you know what sucks when you're going on a plastic surgeon's website is like the million pages of like all of the services that I could get from this person. And I don't know what they mean, and I don't know what the recovery time is, like really putting ourselves in the mind of the customer. And we redid their services page like you were shopping an e-commerce site, because that's how people navigate a lot of websites, especially like, you know, women that are shopping for this service. And it was a really inventive way, and we had not seen any other plastic surgeon website like approached that way. And that was really cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about this more about, we also look at a lot of stuff. Like we're constantly like, I think Ash, we also look at a lot of different stuff. So I feel like you are more, you know, Ash is like a very online person, online and in the world. And I think just it's almost like for us having that collaborativeness of like, we're seeing different things. And so whenever we're coming to the table, we can really like, we have, just because of our own proclivities and interests, we're just looking at a lot of things that we can then pull from together and be like, okay, this thing over here, there's this one image. I'm like, okay, it's like, why was that resonating with this one typeface? And why is that all coming together? And those are the things that kind of like, I don't want to be like it's all in the soup or something. It's like it informs, one thing informs the next. But the client also trusts us by now, so we can kind of push them in the direction where we feel like they should go. Whereas in the beginning, you're kind of following more their lead, and if that is a little bit more old school or traditional, like you kind of you are at the end of the day creating something that resonates with that client, you know? Yeah, and we've also had those clients that are like, I want this, I want it to look like this, and you're executing this, and you know. That's also a thing that happens, for sure.
It's not the best all the time.
I have a scheduling question. So you were saying you don't, typically tell them you don't have time, but do you take on multiple projects at one time, and can you talk a little bit about how you schedule like for the year or how you line them up, especially when they're like, we needed it yesterday?
I know, everybody always does. I'm like, well, that's not my problem. I'm sorry. We stack them. So especially when we're starting, it's like branding can take from 6 to 2 months, 6 weeks to 2 months. And website's the same thing. So we know like at the very beginning that I think for us too, it's like we're doing such different things. Like I'm not really involved until like the second half of that project. So we can kind of like,
We tag team it.
And I can take on the website and I'm working on that while this is kind of flowing. So we can have different, it works better if there's different types of projects happening at the same time. And really Tova has also been really integral with that process because she can kind of look over everything and be like, but we typically have like 5 to 7 projects going at one time.
Yeah,
5
one
to 10.
time. And so that's like like we really, before we have to start outsourcing a lot. And so, but it's nice to block your year. If you're like, I know that we have to have this amount of clients in this many months in order to make payroll, then we have to hit that number. And then if we hit that number and somebody inquires, we can start them in 2 months. And you just kind of keep stacking it back from there. And we know that we're going to show something to someone on a Wednesday or a Friday, and they're going to take the weekend. They're going to give us feedback on Monday or Tuesday. That's their deadline. If they don't hit their deadline, we push the deadline back. And so we will give them, we have 4 to 5 business days to turn around the next round. And so if they don't give us feedback until a certain time, like, baby, you got to wait 5 business days. And so that was a hard lesson, but so we know it's kind of like rolling in the weeks. And we use Google Calendar for everything, and we just started we used all these project management platforms, and now we use Google Task Board. So all of our deadlines and all of our tasks are in Google, which is amazing because it's in one place. And when you're looking at your week and scheduling the stuff that you have to do out for that week, it's like all right there, which is amazing.
Yeah, and just to add in one more thing, I also know now, like the hardest part of the branding is the first round, right? After that, you have a direction, you kind of know where you're going, and you can kind of wrap it up more quickly. But so I know for myself to build in more time, like at the first part of a website or first part of branding, like I just know like, okay, I'm gonna need 2 weeks. But then after that, I can move pretty quick. And I think that's been a learning over time, like, cause we've done this so many times now. It's not like the second half of those projects are never, like the second half for me of those projects are never as time consuming. So that's helpful to kind of move things through the pipeline for sure.
One more.
Oh my God.
You can ask this after. We'd have a one-on-one.
How do you ensure that your logo design will align with the client's vision, but also with your own like creative ideas, without like compromising anything and receiving feedback?
Yeah.
I'm digesting this.
Okay. Do you want to stand up
This is a
there
great
and digest?
question.
Okay.
This is a great question.
That is a really great question. And
some clients don't have great taste.
okay.
Period.
Sure. Totally. I do think this is what's hard is like the client's paying you. So that is something at the end of the day that you have to be happy with. And it's like what level. Okay. Just trying to think of like a scale.
You may do things that you like, that you're pushing for. You become a really great salesperson doing this.
You become a really great salesperson is one way. So there's a lot of ways this can go. It's like typically with a client, we're presenting 2 to 3 options. And so you're going to show them what they asked for. You're going to show what you want to do. And maybe you're showing a medley of both, right? And so that's definitely a way to get there. Sometimes it will not get there. So you have to be like, okay, even if they liked the direction you don't like, what did you do within that? Even if it's like 15%, that's yours, right? Because every time they're not going to accept or like go with this is what I want to do. Like it's probably never going to happen like that. But to know that you were able to influence a little bit, you pushed it a little bit, I think it's still really important. And that still means like it's still your vision and what you like accomplished.
And if the client is coming to you, right? So the client's coming to us, they've seen our work before. There is an element that they like resonate with the work that we're creating, and the design style that we have. And so we have had to have the conversation sometimes where we're like, you came to us, like you trust us, like this is our recommendation, but you don't have to, it's like sometimes you just don't want to fight that hard,
I also think change is hard. When people have had a logo and it's like, especially for redesigns, that's something that we've had a lot of like, I don't don't want to say strife with, but that's when people have the most challenging time to like accept something new because they've seen the same thing for 25 years, for however long, and so they're really attached to it. So I think, you know, in those cases, it's just like knowing that is really helpful and like very informational because you're like, okay, they probably won't like it. They probably have to see it a bunch of times in a bunch of different ways, and that means for us, that's a lot more work. That means we have to show them, here's how it looks in all these scenarios, and then they can be like, oh, and you're like, yeah, let's go. You know, it's a very like, how do we?
You have to guide. You're guiding them down the path, you know. But they like also we've pitched people things, and their first initial reaction, and we leave the meeting, and we're like, they hate it, and then a day later they're like, oh my god, okay, so we love direction 1, and like we're ready to go. We're like, so you just can't like you get super thick skin, and you like stop caring so much, you know, which is good. It's good. You care about your work, but you can't. The ego thing is what you like let go of, you know.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay, it's time.
Thanks, y'all.
Well, no, all I'm going to say is they said maybe next spring or fall they'd teach a class. And so, to be continued. Tuck, 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 tuck.